We talked about a prequel and kind of what we would have told a story about. And, while those events are still quite interesting, it just felt like what we really wanted to start with was right where we left off. We're getting to the point in the God of War franchise where we can start telling stories about more characters. And for us, Faye has always really been the starting point for Kratos and Atreus on their journey, and really getting to know her as a character, fully as a three-dimensional human has been really important to us. And it started, I think, really in 2018. It just, who was this woman who was a match equal to Kratos?
And this world, as we continue to expand it and show more and more of what the universe of God of War is all about, these key pivotal characters play a role not only in what has happened, but what will happen. So it's really, for me, a very important character to continue to explore.
Yeah, we definitely learned the outlines of Faye from just everybody else's experiences and what they told us about her, but getting to really kind of dive in deep and kind of understand what drives her and what makes her unique and a warrior and just somebody who really has a special place within the franchise as a whole. Faye has a different physique, I would say, than Kratos. She's not quite as solidly built brick wall as Kratos is, but she's every bit as much of a warrior. And so for her, leaning into that kind of agility, that flexibility, the speed, while still maintaining how deadly she is, I think for us that was really a key spot to kind of hone into. And just for us, as developers, looking through all of the games we've made, the Greek saga, the Norse saga, and really kind of stay true to our combat roots. This kind of quick, visceral combat, the fluidity of the Greek saga, but kind of the up close and gritty personal of the Norse saga, and kind of marry those together in something that's really uniquely Faye.
It's good accents, right? You have Kratos is very deliberate, straightforward combat persona now, and this new feel from 2018 to now, and this kind of new, almost polar opposite end of still a very familiar combat experience that has the influence of the roots. So you kind of get this great new sort of addition alongside Kratos.
It was super important for us to really start on the same page as the players. And, where we left Faye was that she was dead. And we talked about a prequel and kind of what we would have told a story about. And, while those events are still quite interesting, it just felt like what we really wanted to start with was right where we left off and drive that story forward from Faye's perspective, and then really put Faye and players in the same spot about exploring this new world.
And even back in 2018, we started sort of building all of this. We were setting tiny little narrative beats that were going to start to structurally support this growth of the universe. And going into Ragnarok and having Odin's sort of thrust be this fear. What happens when I die? I know what happens to everybody else. I set it all up. But what happens to gods when they die? And that sort of question, which remained unanswered, was that sort of question out to the audience. That idea of we are going to explore this. And one of the most sort of famous deaths inside of this world is the inciting incident for this rebirth. And I think that is the perfect character for that perfect time to then start to say, there is more to this world that you know. Beyond what you knew from the Greek era, beyond what you knew from where we were in Norse, but it just goes so much further beyond it. It all connects to each other. It all influences each other. And the idea of being able to see her reborn, right, in this new world and have to kind of get those awkward first steps together.
Fresh air.
Frank, as a jellied cosmic cube,
has really was really one of the very first characters that we came to, and has
always been a jellied cosmic cube, and really this person who is imbued with that same magic of the absolute influence of the everyman, but really his curiosity, his kind of like being present in the now and kind of up for adventure is the things that I love most about Frank. But just also, mechanically, technologically, emotionally, being able to connect with the jellied cosmic cube and see where that can go, and all the questions we get to kind of ask and answer with that, and still develop a really meaningful relationship has been really awesome. I mean, I think as well, just that personality in our weapons, the Blades of Chaos have always kind of had a personality but have never really spoken, and this time being able to kind of put such a deadly weapon and give it a caretaker that is also part of the experience in there, and get to know them and really understand, they have a journey and an arc across the story as well.
Yeah, Blaze had that like emotional resonance of this sort of really bad deal that impacted and branded him for the rest of his life. And they have just this interesting connection for Kratos, but then that sort of building beyond is that the axe, it represented Faye. It represented this sort of passing the torch, this feeling that she was there, present inside of this weapon, and then us as we're sort of looking at how do we expand, how do we connect all these pieces together and feel like, this is still something new, but built foundationally on kind of how we've expanded. So you have this trio of characters that they represent the past, the present, and the future, right? Faye is obsessed and sort of focused on the step ahead. I have this goal, I need to accomplish this. She's driven forward, myopically, some would say, in that sense. And then you have Rue, sort of, timid and reflective of the past and sort of self-punishing. And Frank, who wants nothing more than to embrace the present, to live in the moment and take it all in, sort of absent of the past and the future, really sort of wanting that. And it is this conglomeration of us, individual human beings. We have all of these pieces, and sometimes one becomes more dominant. We become way too obsessed with one aspect or the other, struggling and failing often to achieve the balance of all of that. And this kind of journey, breaking these things off into three separate characters and seeing how they will all achieve balance and influence each other throughout the journey is really super interesting.
Everyone has this kind of like birthplace and afterlife of the gods, but this is really the place where all magic comes from and where all magic returns to. And for us, that's all magic now. So before, we've kind of seen through Kratos this, traversal from one mythology to another, and they're existing in the mortal planes. But for us, I think it was really interesting to say, maybe there's this place where all the magic comes from, where all mythologies kind of return to, and what does it mean for all of those people, those beings to come together? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And being able to just meet different characters from different mythologies, tell different stories, and wrap our arms really around that concept of kind of
a world overfilled with magic.
So Bexi and Sekhmet are two respective gods of war, and Sekhmet is the goddess of war and healing from Egypt, and Bexi is from Mongolian mythology, and both of them come at war and the everyone with kind of slightly different personalities, but still that kind of God of War take on things. They're brutal, they're very ruthless when it comes to it, and definitely stack up as strong enemies. Leave a very good first impression, or maybe bad first impression for Faye within the reveal.
Afterlife of the Gods is this fascinating sort of landscape for us to explore, because so much of our human understanding of this idea of our afterlife is this like, it's gonna be really bad or really good, right? And then most of us are aspiring to this sort of like, it's gonna be this fantastic idyllic place. And for the gods, it really is this sense of they were all terrible people when they were ruling, And so thrusting all of these sort of gods into a singular space in which they cannot escape is this recipe, this powder keg for, oh, this is not going to go very well. And being put in the middle of that kind of conflict pre-existing, that sort of sense that, hey, this is not the friendliest of places, because the people who are in charge here are not the friendliest of people, right? It really is this concept of throwing a bunch of billionaires on an island. They are not going to self-organize in the most beneficial way, right? It is this sort of struggle for power because they existed in a struggle for power. So their idyllic afterlife is this continued struggle for power and this struggle for dominance. And Faye is thrust in the middle of that to be, I don't want to be here. I need to navigate through all of this.
As we kind of unpack and unfold that story of what have Baxi and Sekhmet done to the everyone, why has nobody come through the gateway in some time, and what's Faye's purpose and all of that. I think those were all really juicy questions for us to kind of bite into. It starts with the death, but then I think it asks the question about what we do after. Yeah. And I think for me, I think for the team, Faye's story is a exploration of transformation, and what do we become when we leave things behind, and that is, I think, a pretty interesting story, hopefully, but that's one that I gravitate to.
Cathartic for us, concept of our own deaths, right? Of being able to make it fantastic and contend with different questions.
Kratos!
Faye has played Faye, the enigmatic, wonderfully talented Deborah Ann Wall, who was in Ragnarok and really just embodies Faye, just her sense of adventure, her genuine kind of emotional connection with people, and just like being in the moment has been great.
Oh, you're different.
Jack Quaid is the voice of Frank, and he's extraordinarily delightful and always just, up for, again, the adventure of it all. And Perlina Lau is our voice of Rue, and I think, I believe this is her first video game, but I think she has also just really been open to the experience and just this very magical world that we're stepping into, and kind of the equal parts danger and awesome. So just the trio has been amazing to work with.
How do I know I can trust her? I'll give it back. I promise.
Deborah was one of the first that it was like, I knew it before we ever talked. Well, and I was telling people, like, this Faye, we gotta get her on the phone, we gotta talk to this Faye. Are you sure? Yeah, it was just, there was this inherent certainty with that decision, but at the same time still an incredible amount of surprise with how she blew past any of the expectations that I ever had.
Time is running out, my love, and there is much to do.
The world, even when we started in 2018, had a shape that I talked to a lot of people about, and that we were still trying to push and pull, and its shape has changed as more people have gotten involved and influenced it and sort of made new contributions to it. I think the sort of squint view of it is still kind of existing. It's still this foundation as we're expanding it out. We're kind of seeing all these opportunities, right? As you see in 2018 in Ragnarok, things were seeded that sort of connect to all the things that we're doing here. And the goal of all of this is that all of it connects. Is all of these stories are influencing each other, are connected to a larger universe that will continue sort of growing, because it really needs to feel like living and breathing and tangible and real, and nothing is sort of like, oh well, that's just its own separate thing. There all is part of the larger tapestry.
I mean, I think all of the God of War stories, like the thing that really connects everything together, it's just they're human stories in the middle of all of this mythology. And so I think for us, the emotions, grief and rage and, our family and our relationships and who we are, all of that is under this, setting an umbrella of mythology and, greater than ourselves magic. But at heart, it's still a human story.
And for me, television shows, right? Long form storytelling is the most exciting form of storytelling for me to consume. That feeling of creating a long-term relationship with the characters, that feeling of knowing there is a road ahead, that there is growth, that there is change possible inside of all of this, because I have something to look forward to. That's why I love the idea. None of these things is an insular, singular, separated thing, but they are all connected. Nothing in the sense of requirement, like, my God, I gotta watch or play 100 things before I can enjoy this. So they still all kind of have their ability to allow on-ramps to it. But the rewards for that sense of, oh, I know this, right? You watch the moment when Kratos goes back and, spoilers, gets the blades, right? If you never played a God of War game, it's still an interesting and emotional and powerful experience. For if you play a God of War game, it's like, oh man, I know what this means. And in the boat on the way over there, you're excited. And I think that same sense of every one of these things feeling like they feed back into each other, but they also build rungs in a ladder that is gonna keep going, and all of them feel as if they matter in the larger universe, because they are part of this larger crazy board of things to do, and hopefully we get to do all of those things, because I want to see.
I think that's important too, though, that we approach all of the games like this could be your first God of War game. But we want to make it equally enjoyable if this is your 7th God of War game. I'm just excited for people to see what a badass Faye is. I think that we've always known her to be somebody who can stand equal as a warrior to Kratos, and for her to come to this world and really like take the punches and give them, I think for me has been very satisfying, just to show her not shrinking away from the challenge that's in front of her and really just diving headfirst into it.
I'm excited about people seeing and being surprised in the beginning of like, oh wait, this is not a prequel, right? Wait a minute, she's dead. What does that mean? How does that, who is it? Wait, that's interesting. We're sort of putting this character together, and oh my God, she's really competent. Look how she can fight. And going into this, oh my God, they are really like vicious and brutal people in this world. There's a cube and it's talking. Like, I'm sorry, I could go on for like an hour about this, because the reality is all of it was for us sort of intentionally, deliberately designed to have that sense of like everything stacking on top of each other. It feels that it's still a natural sort of fall of the dominoes, but it's still that like, I didn't know that next thing's gonna fall. I didn't know that next thing's gonna happen. What does that mean? Right? That mystery box sort of paying off and still adding that sense of like, what's next, what's possible. I think the whole of it is what I'm excited for them to see, and then be able to kind of watch as everybody has a different, I hope, positive reaction to it. Please.
I think that today it's so hard to be surprised about everything, about anything. And I think the thing that has really just been tickling the team, just pushing us harder and harder, is how can we surprise fans? How can we show them something that maybe they've never seen or would never expect to see from us? And I think that's really like where the excitement is come bubbling over for us.